Hi everyone, it's Michelle here with another card making tutorial. I have this set of cards here that I put up for sale on my Etsy. It's just a really fun and colorful set of birthday cards, and I posted a photo of them on Instagram, and some of you wanted to see how I created them. So I'm going to create a very similar card with the same technique here for you today. So the first thing I pulled out was the background stamp I used. This one is by Hero Arts and Basic Gray, and this is going to create the really bold black part of the background that's going to contrast with the rainbow really nicely. So you can use any background stamp you have here. You'll want it to be about half negative space and half positive space so that you can see both the black and the colors equally. So I'm just inking this up with my Hero Arts black dye ink, which is just a really nice ink pad that's stamps very smoothly and very dark. So I just inked that up on my stamp facing upwards, and then I placed a card base on top of it. This is just a standard size card base, 4¼ by 5½. And I took a sheet of scrap paper, and I'm just really carefully pressing the ink into the card base, making sure that I get all the areas. If you have a brayer, you can go ahead and use that also. That'll help you to apply even pressure. But I just used my hands, and you can see it turned out fine. So I'm wiping off my stem very thoroughly with a baby wipe since there is a lot of ink still on there. So I'm opening up the card base and I'm going to tape the top along the fold to a piece of scrap paper. This will hold it in place and also mask off the top, the back of the card while we're applying more ink on top of it. So I'm taking out some distress inks and my ink blending tools. I'm going to be doing a gradient of greens and blues, so I just pulled out all the different shades of those colors I have. I have 4 here, but you can use as few as 2, depending on like the variations of color. And I'm going to have the exact colors of these inks in my blog post if you want to know the exact colors. But you can really just use whatever you have on hand and whatever colors you want. A lot of the colors I'm using here are very similar, so you don't see as much gradient. Later, when I show you more photos, you can see the different kinds of combinations and gradients you can create with this. But really, you can just experiment. Make sure to overlap the colors because this is what will create the blended look. And I also wanted to mention that one reason that I stamped the black image first and I didn't ink the paper first was that sometimes I found that when I was trying this technique, I messed up by getting black ink on my fingers and maybe it smudged other places. So I just find that it's easier to do that step first. So if in case you mess up, you don't have to start all over again with your inking. And I also got some ink by mistake on the back of the card because I wasn't very careful. So I'm just taking my X-Acto knife or a craft knife and I'm scraping away the top layer of the card where the ink is, and then using an eraser to just rub away any of those little pieces of paper that pill up. And you can see that it's barely visible now. So this is a great way if you just mess up and get ink where you don't want it to be, you can just use this little trick. So now I have that card base and it's super pretty with this ombre effect, which I seem to be using on every card I make recently, and I just love using the distress inks for that. So I pulled out this stamp set by Simon Says Stamp, which has a bunch of very basic sentiments. I'm going to be creating a thank you card since the other cards I created were birthday cards, so I thought I would do something different. And I have this little bowl of die cut circles and little embellishments and things that I keep on hand. I just like to die cut a lot of my circles beforehand because I don't have a manual die cut machine, so it's a lot of work to pull out my silhouette just to create circles. And I like using them a lot, so I just cut a lot of different sizes and have them on hand in this bowl. But I actually do need to cut out another one from a bold color. So I chose this blue cardstock, which I think will match very nicely with the blue inks that I used. So I just really quickly cut out a circle that's slightly larger than the white circle so that it can be a match for that. And I'll be embossing the sentiment, so I rubbed my cardstock down with my anti-static powder tool, and then I inked up the stamp and Versamark, and I'm using Ranger Liquid Platinum, which is a silver embossing powder, which I really love, and you'll see why when I show you the pictures later. Just ends up looking beautiful. And here it is all heat set. I did that off camera. And I'm going to adhere that flat to the blue mat that I created. The circle is a little bigger than I wanted it to be, but it's a little different from what I usually do, so I guess that's okay. Just to mix it up a little bit. So I'm going to adhere this circle with foam squares, and I'll skip the part of adhering all of those tiny little squares down. And for this card, I decided to put it at the top in the center just to do something a little different. In my other cards, I put it in the lower right-hand corner. So I just wanted to mix it up. And I'll be adding some wood veneer stars, which I keep in this little container with all of my other embellishments. So really any small embellishment will work for this. You'll see I have sequins, enamel dots, maybe some other shapes of wood veneers. So I'm just picking out different sizes of stars, making sure to just create some variation. And I'm using 5 of them because odd numbers seem to always work better. And I'll be adhering this down with a multi-medium liquid adhesive. So I'm just using my tweezers so that it's easy to place these stars exactly where I want because they are very small. And once that's finished, my card will be done. So here you can see the card compared to the set I made earlier. Again, you can experiment with whatever color combinations you want. I especially like when the colors overlap, so just make sure you do that, especially if they are very different colors. And here you can see how beautiful and smooth the silver embossing powder melted, which is why it really is one of my favorites. And here's one of my favorites that I made in my other set. I used more colors, so there's a green, blue, and purple here. And I really like how it looks like there are 5 colors, but really I only used 3 of them. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. On screen here you'll see some other past videos I've done with distress inking. Some of them are also ombre inking, which you might enjoy watching. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. You can also follow me on Instagram and Pinterest. I love to hear from you guys. If you ever see a card that I make and post and you want to see a video tutorial for it, I'd really love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.